Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Wednesday, February 19th. So, what's going to be the discussion for today? So, I thought we could talk about resilience. What keeps you going, even when defies all odds, right? Well, stay tuned. Hey, good morning. Yes, if you didn't already know it, my name is Eric, and this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of 2025. So, what am I talking about when I talk about resilience? And why is that important? Whether it's in your personal life or your business life, why do you have to remain resilient and what keeps you there? Because that's where a lot of people falter. They either have a bad idea and they aren't willing to let it go, or they have a good idea and they just don't let it go long enough because they're in a hurry to get the payoff. See, what I found in my 62 years of life is that most of the stuff that I appreciate the most, I've had to work the hardest to get. And that's what I think is truly important that you need to remember is easy come, easy go, right? And even if you have a successful business, you still won't give yourself enough credit because you don't feel like you've worked that hard to get it. Whereas other things in your life that you have worked really hard are ones that stand out and make you very proud, right? But when it comes to business, why is resilience important? Because if you don't have, see, that's one of the biggest traits that I see with successful people is that they can go so far and then they can dig down even deeper to find the strength to continue on, right? Whether it's that person that's running track and every part of his body or her body is saying, just give up. And they aren't willing to give up. They keep going. That's resilience. It's when you know you're on the right track, but you're against all odds, right? That it's not going to work. But somehow you dig deep enough to get the needed extra strength to get you across that finish line. This hasn't got anything to do with people. We talked about a bakery here a while back, so let's talk about a bakery. Resilience isn't when a baker comes in at 3 o'clock in the morning to start their stuff and then doesn't leave until 9 o'clock that night. Yes, they're putting in a lot of time, but it's not resilience that's driving them. It's the amount of workload and sales that they want, right? Where that baker would be farther ahead to figure out how he could do or how she can do more stuff in less time. Because what I see when I see people like that is I see a lot of burnouts. They've got a good thing going, but they can't carry it through because they burn out. That's why I say it's not resilience that keeps them there. It's other reasons, and it could be money. It could be, needed sales, to those people, I would say you need to hire somebody else to help you so you're not spending such long hours at work. Because just because you spend ungodly amounts of time at work does not make what you're working on successful. When I tell people about business, you have to play the long game. And what do I mean by the long game? If you're looking for instant gratification, it hardly ever comes. If you're looking for encouragement from others, you will with the people closest to you, I would assume, I would hope. But for the most part, people are in there to buy your bread, right? When I talk about running a business, we talked about how first impressions count and how to identify who you're talking to when they come through that door, right? And the biggest goal that we have going on is we want to get that customer to a point of where they want to help us. That's the key, is getting that customer so that they support us and they tell other people about us, right? And that brings in more work. When I was doing the startup with the parts business online, I was working 16, 17-hour days, 7 days a week. And after a while, it gets old. And some say, well, yeah, but then you can kind of sit back and enjoy the profits from your time invested. Yeah, but if you're not constantly giving, it's not going to stay profitable. Because what I can tell you in business is everybody is watching you. You have people watching you to see what you're doing so that they can replicate it. And I can take eBay and Amazon as a big example. We were one of the first to get online. We were ahead of the time. This was even before PayPal came into existence of finding a way to handle the money. You had to rely on trust, and that was the person bought it, bid on it and bought it. They would send a check or money order, and then you would send the item. And in some cases, I would meet up with people for the higher dollar items, like the $5,000 to $7,000. They would drive to my location with cash and pick up their item. But one of the things that we ran into on both venues were what I call copycats. Lazy copycats. And they would hire people from overseas to go in and copy every part of our listing and create their own listing on their account and have it 5 to 10 cents cheaper. And they didn't even bother changing the photographs that were our photographs. No. And in the beginning, eBay did try to curb that, But then it was kind of like every man for themselves. And we had people thinking that it was us because we even had in the description Northern New York parts. And the ones from overseas would copy everything, including the blip about Northern New York parts. And they would have it in their descriptions. Yes. And you could watermark the photos. But even then, eBay started down that path of No, we want to have a uniform platform so that everybody is getting the same exposure. So we're only going to use one picture for that part, only one description, only one title, and it's going to be based solely on value of what you're selling it for. And they screwed themselves in a way, right? Because they deflated the value of the parts. Because everybody was doing that race to the bottom. And if you've never heard that term before, that's when people start having price wars and everybody keeps dropping their price to try to get under the other one, right? And before you know it, everybody's losing money. I mean, we had, which was fine, we had the ones that were coming on that weren't selling a whole lot of parts retail because a lot of their customers were now buying from us online. So they've got a boatload of pre-season parts and everything that they don't have an outlet for. So if they had somebody younger at the shop, it's like, well, let's start selling these parts online like everybody else is. You know, and I did. I felt bad for them in a way because they didn't understand the eBay fee system. You had to pay a fee to eBay to sell. And by then you had storefronts, and that was you paid a monthly fee or a yearly fee to have a store. We have two of them. One for the ag side and one for the small engine side. But people would create an account and they would underestimate what it would cost for shipping is one. Then the eBay fees for another. And they were basing it on just solely retail out the door. But by the time they figured shipping and the eBay fees, they were actually going backwards. Terribly backwards. And they were losing money on every sale. And some took longer than others to realize. I mean, I pointed out to a few of them. I said, look, you need to figure in all these fees and shipping with your item. Because we were getting it at warehouse pricing. And they were close to what we were listing it for. And I'm like, there's no way they possibly could. Unless they were looking to take a loss on their inventory just to get rid of it. But that's not resilience. That's taking and trying to copy somebody else's success to make it your own. And you don't give any thought to what about the other businesses because you're all in it for yourself, right? I was always forthright if I saw another business trying to sell something online that I thought they were trying to sell it too cheap. And I would bring it to their attention. Some were very receptive, some were not. Some were like, mind your own business. Excuse me, I apologize for butting in. Whereas others were, thank you, Eric, you know. Because I never talked to anybody online or sent messages as a way to put the screws to anybody. It's just not built into my logic. I've never thought about how can I put one over on somebody else. Never. Doesn't come in. I don't allow it in. And one of the things that, you know, my brother-in-law, he passed away here 2 years ago. One of the things that I admired most of him was he never competed with anybody else. He competed against himself. If he couldn't do it good, he would try to do better. Every day he was trying to do better against himself. And that's real growth, you know. And many, if you talk to them that were selling on eBay and Amazon, will tell you that it was the Chinese that ruined the markets, whereas that's not true. The true fact is when distributors and manufacturers started talking with eBay and Amazon, doing backdoor deals, and then selling directly against the people that they were selling to. And that included the shops, that included the online sales. When you can buy it direct from the manufacturer for less than you could buy it from me, that really hurt our business. And I've always said, you don't shit where you eat. And what does that mean? That means if you're making a living by selling to dealers, you don't undersell your dealers. You protect your dealers, right? Because they're the ones that are going to put money in your pocket. But a lot of the manufacturers and distributors figured out they could make even more money by going direct to the consumer and just weeding us basically out. That was the demise of the marketplace online. Was the distributors got too greedy. The manufacturers got too greedy. And with the help of eBay and Amazon, with the enterprise edition, that's exactly what they did. They came in and started selling against you. Amazon was a good one too. There was no loyalty with Amazon to anybody. If they started seeing you sell a lot of a certain product, they would in turn try to figure out how to wholesale that for themselves and sell it at a profit. And we had this round around with Stens at one point, talking with the sales rep that covered our area. I was like, Stens is making deals with Amazon. Amazon has got 5 locations that they're sending Stens parts out of. You're telling me that you have to have a repair shop in order to have a Stens account, and yet you're allowing Amazon to buy directly at a better price than me because they're buying more widgets. But yet they don't have a repair shop. But see, Stens did that too. Stens used to sell to distributors, and they had territories, right? And then they figured out they could make more money by going direct to the dealers instead of just selling to the distributors and then the dealers. So they basically put the screws to their distributors. They decided they would just cut out one middleman and go direct to the repair shops instead of having to go through the distributor that covered that territory. Again, that goes to you don't crap where you eat, right? But they did. But getting back to resilience. Resilience is when you get to the point of where you're just ready to give up. But you know you're on the right track. And it's just going to take some more time. It's resilience is what allows you to dig deeper, to carry it through to the finish line, like that track player. So on that note, you guys have a great Wednesday. Put in the comments what you feel resilience is when it comes to business. Do you think business is a long game or a short game? I know for most of us it's a long game. We know that the profits aren't going to come right off the bat. It takes time. All right. Again, thanks so much for supporting the channel and watching the videos. We'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning.